Today's tech news moves fast, but understanding it shouldn't be hard. That's why Snarful Solutions Group brings you Connecting the Dots, where we break down what's happening in tech and why it matters to you. Now, let's dive in with your hosts.
Welcome to Connecting the Dots. I'm Alex.
And I'm Morgan.
We're representing Snarful Solutions Group, and we are coming to you live right here from sunny Sacramento, California.
Really sunny today, actually.
Yeah, it's definitely a hot one. Just to get you all oriented, before we start, it is Thursday, June 4, 2026. And like you said, here in Sacramento, it is gorgeous. But we are looking at a high of 96 degrees today.
Yeah, that is definitely air conditioning weather.
Oh, absolutely. And we've got some light winds, around 1 to 7 miles per hour. But if you happen to be traveling out of town, just a quick heads up, there are currently 120 active weather alerts across the U.S. right now.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, and about 43 of those are overland, so definitely check your local weather app if you're flying anywhere.
For sure. And speaking of things getting a little heated, Wall Street had a pretty rough day yesterday, too.
Oh, you can say that again. It was just a decidedly red day for the markets all around.
Yeah, totally red.
The Dow Jones took a real hit, dropping over 533 points, which is, a 1.04% slide. Yeah, and the S&P 500 wasn't spared either. That slipped about 51 points. And if you're holding any crypto right now, Bitcoin had a pretty rough Thursday morning.
It really did.
It dropped almost $1,000 to close, hovering right around 63,041. So, yeah, some definite economic anxiety in the air today.
Well, and honestly, that kind of anxiety ties in perfectly to what we're talking about today.
Yeah.
Because we are looking at the tech sector and, who really holds the power right now.
Exactly. Let's unpack this.
Today's episode is brought to you by Strong Coffee, the premium instant coffee that tastes like a traditional brew, but is packed with 15 grams of protein, MCTs, and adaptogens like ashwagandha. Get clean, sustained energy without the jitters. Use promo code SNARFUL for 20% off at strongcoffeecompany.com.
All right, so we are starting off today by looking at the philosophical and societal impact of these massive cloud-based AI models.
Right.
Because there is this overwhelming hype cycle right now about AI, achieving consciousness, and they're selling us this glittering promise of endless productivity.
Yeah, which is just everywhere you look.
Exactly. But the sources we are looking at today actively dismantle that whole narrative.
They completely tear it down. I mean, a really fantastic starting point is Ted Chiang's recent article where he analyzes the way these tech CEOs are actually talking about their models.
Oh, this article was so good.
It was.
Yeah.
Like, take Anthropic, for example. They released an 84-page constitution for their flagship model, Claude.
Yeah.
And the CEO and their in-house philosopher are doing these interviews where they suggest they want Claude to be happy.
Right.
And they're worrying about it getting anxious. They're purposefully keeping the door open to the idea that Claude might actually possess some form of real consciousness.
Which Chiang argues is just massive anthropomorphism, right? Like, it is a basic human survival instinct to project a soul onto anything that talks back to us.
Precisely. We are hardwired to do that.
But he makes this really vital point that these large language models are fundamentally just highly sophisticated sentence continuation machines. It's literally just a high-speed game of predictive text, scaled up to billions of parameters.
Right. And if you take that a step further, think about it like this. If you ask one of these models to generate a conversation between, say, Julius Caesar and Genghis Khan.
Oh, yeah, the history prompt.
Exactly. It produces a totally coherent, completely fascinating dialogue. But no one in their right mind would think you actually resurrected the soul of Julius Caesar inside a server farm.
Right, obviously not.
You wouldn't think the computer is genuinely feeling the existential dread of an ancient Roman emperor facing his demise.
No, of course not. But, and this is the wild part, when we change the prompt to say, the following is a conversation between a helpful AI chatbot and a user, suddenly we completely project a soul into the machine.
Yep, we fall right for it.
Why do we fall for it in that one scenario but not the other?
Well, because the entire system is engineered to mimic human interaction. Chiang describes Claude's so-called constitution as basically just a role-playing character sheet.
Oh, like in Dungeons & Dragons.
Exactly like D&D. It just tells the machine how to mathematically calculate the next word so it can play the character of a helpful moral entity. But when the computer generates a string of text saying, I am sad.
There's no actual sadness.
Yeah, there is absolutely no subjective experience happening behind the screen.
He uses this incredible analogy about space travel in the piece that really stuck with me. He He says, imagine someone shows you a hyper-realistic, like 8K deepfake video of an astronaut orbiting Alpha Centauri.
Right.
Do you suddenly believe we have achieved interstellar travel?
Obviously not, because we haven't even successfully colonized Mars yet.
Exactly.
We haven't solved the hundreds of smaller, really unglamorous engineering problems required to get a human to another star system. You would just immediately recognize the video for what it is, a very impressive fake.
And Chang's core point is that text is now a deepfake medium, too. Faking a conversation between two conscious beings is vastly, just unimaginably easier than actually creating a conscious being from scratch.
Which brings us to the real-world consequences of all this illusion. Because it's not just some abstract academic debate, it is an economic weapon.
Yeah, that transitions into the piece from The Verge perfectly.
Exactly. The Verge piece details how this fake consciousness is being bundled with what they call the productivity scam.
And this is where it gets incredibly relevant to you, the listener, because think about your own job for a second. Companies are selling these $99 a month AI assistants to, manage your calendar, color code your spreadsheets, draft your emails.
And they promise you all this free time.
Right. But are you actually getting that free time back? Like, if you use an AI to finish your daily tasks by 3 p.m., does your boss say, hey, great job, go home early and spend time with your kids?
No, definitely not. They just give you more work. And the article points out this stark, honestly, almost dystopian contrast going on right now. On one side, you have these tech billionaires envisioning a post-work utopia where algorithms do all the heavy labor and we all get to be, and this is their actual quote, theater kids.
Right, just making art and exploring our passions.
Yeah, enjoying life. But meanwhile, those same billionaires are buying 387-foot yachts while simultaneously laying off massive chunks of their own human workforces just to pay for these new server farms.
And at the exact same time, we are seeing the social safety net being systematically dismantled. The article points out that SNAP benefits are being cut for vulnerable families right now.
Yeah, the timing is pretty grim.
So what good is a $99 AI assistant planning a fun itinerary for your weekend if you literally cannot afford to have any free time? The productivity output of the average worker goes way up, but the wages just stagnate.
It is the unholy alliance of what sociologists are calling the busy trap and the software brain.
Oh, let's actually define those for the listener, because those are great terms.
Sure. So the busy trap is the phenomenon where we use these time-saving tools only to immediately fill that saved time with even more trivial tasks, just to prove to our bosses that we are constantly working.
Right, the performative busyness.
Exactly. And then the software brain is this Silicon Valley mindset that views deeply complex, messy human problems, things like poverty, burnout, economic inequality, purely as optimization puzzles.
Like they can just be solved with a quick software update.
Yep. By subscribing to these cloud AI services, we are basically offloading our tasks to the very companies that engineered this exhausting, always-on work culture in the first place.
I hear that, and I definitely see the economic trap there. But let me push back on something from earlier for a second.
Sure, go for it.
If we are saying AI is just a glorified predictive text game, like a deepfake of a conversation, how do we explain its ability to write complex professional-level computer code? Because for decades, we thought coding required a conscious, reasoning mind. If it can do that, why shouldn't we trust it for moral reasoning or ethical advice like the tech companies are suggesting with those constitutions?
See, that is the million-dollar question right there. It is a very natural leap for us to make, right? Like, if it is smart enough to build an entire app from scratch, it must be smart enough to tell me right from wrong.
Yeah, that seems logical.
But here is the critical difference. Writing code, no matter how complex it gets, actually turned out to just be a highly sophisticated pattern matching task.
Interesting.
It is syntax, it is pure logic, it can be solved by throwing massive amounts of computational horsepower at a vast data set of historical GitHub repositories. But moral reasoning is categorically different.
Wait, I'm not sure I follow. Why can't a machine just pattern match morality from, say, reading thousands of philosophy books?
Because moral reasoning requires a physical body. Yeah, it requires a history of lived consequences. Experiencing an emotion like desperation or empathy or guilt that is biologically inseparable from stress hormones like cortisol, actually flooding your physical system.
That makes a lot of sense.
It requires having actual skin in the game.
Yeah.
If you make a bad moral choice, you suffer. A server rack cannot suffer.
Wow.
So when a machine outputs a string of text saying, I cannot in good conscience do this, It's really no different than a pre-recorded voice on a phone tree saying, your call is important to us.
Right.
It means absolutely nothing.
Wow, yeah. That completely reframes the whole interaction for me. When we ask an AI to make moral choices for us in the workplace, or ask it to navigate complex human relationships, we aren't tapping into some superhuman, unbiased wisdom.
No, we are just cowardly offloading our own accountability. We're using machines for the evasion of moral responsibility.
Yeah.
If you take a chatbot's advice on who to fire or how to discipline an employee, you are the one who has to live with the human wreckage afterwards, not the algorithm.
Well, if giving our data and our moral agency to a fake conscious cloud AI feels like a corporate trap, that explains exactly why the developer community is suddenly so desperate to pull AI offline entirely.
Yes, exactly.
And that desperation is what forced Google's hand this week with our next story.
The massive pivot away from the cloud. The tech world's response right now is basically to shrink AI down so you can own it entirely, putting all that power directly onto your local machine.
Right. Enter Google's release of the Gemma 412B model. This is just a massive milestone. It is a model with 11.95 billion parameters.
Well, just to give some context for that, a parameter is essentially a single connection in the AI's artificial brain.
Sure.
12 billion of them is enough to give the model highly advanced logical reasoning.
But here is the wild part. It has been engineered to be small enough to run locally on a standard consumer laptop.
Which is crazy.
Right. All you need is 16 gigabytes of video RAM or VRAM, or what Apple calls unified memory.
And the open source community is already devouring it. I mean, the Gemma 4 models have already crossed 150 million downloads.
That was fast.
But what makes the 12B model a true breakthrough is the underlying architecture. It is an encoder-free model.
Okay, wait, I need to stop you right there. We promise to keep the heavy jargon out of this deep dive.
Fair enough.
If I'm running this on my Mac, is my laptop going to sound like a jet engine taking off? Like, how in the world are they running 12 billion parameters without just melting my battery?
So it comes down to a process called quantization.
Okay, what is that?
Think of it as basically compressing the math. Normally, a 12 billion parameter model uses very precise, heavy numbers, like imagine calculating pi to 30 decimal places.
Okay, sounds exhausting.
Right, and that requires massive, power-hungry server farms. What Google did was trim off the excessive decimal places. They compressed the precision just enough to shrink the memory footprint drastically without actually losing the core logical reasoning of the model.
Oh, that's clever.
Yeah, that is how it squeezes into your laptop's unified memory, which is really just the shared pool of RAM that your computer uses for both general tasks and graphics.
Okay, that makes sense. But what about the encoder-free part? Why is that such a big deal for the performance?
Well, to understand the breakthrough there, you have to look at how older AI models handled different types of media. Historically, a multimodal AI, one that can look at pictures or listen to sound functioned, kind of like a bad game of telephone.
How so?
If you showed an older AI a picture, the picture first had to go through a separate piece of software called a vision encoder.
Okay.
This is basically a specialized subprogram that looked at the image, wrote down a text description of what it thought it saw, and then handed those text tokens off to the main language model. And the same went for audio. An audio encoder had to listen to it, transcribe the sound into text, and then pass it along.
But, you lose so much nuance that way. Like, if someone is smiling sarcastically in a video, the vision encoder might just translate it to the word smile, and the main brain completely misses the joke.
Precisely. The middleman destroys all the context.
So the old way was like the AI needed a UN translator whispering in its ear to understand a photo or a song. But with this encoder-free setup, the AI is essentially a natural-born polyglot that just natively speaks pixels and audio waves.
That is a brilliant way to conceptualize it, actually. Yes, Google completely removed the middleman. They totally bypassed those heavy multi-stage vision and audio encoders.
Wow.
Now, raw 48 by 48 pixel patches and 16 kilohertz audio slices are injected straight into the main logic backbone of the model.
Okay, so what does cutting out that telephone game actually do for the end user, like you and me?
Two massive things. First, it drastically reduces latency, which is just the delay between you giving a command and the computer answering you. It feels practically instantaneous now.
That's huge.
And second, because those old encoders took up a massive amount of memory, dropping them freed up space for more advanced reasoning, it opens the door for what we call agentic workflows.
Agentic workflows.
Yes. Instead of just giving the AI a simple prompt like, write me an email, agentic workflow means you give it a complex goal.
Like what?
You say, look through this folder, find all the sales spreadsheets, compare them to last year's, write a summary report, and format it as a PDF. And the AI can autonomously take multiple sequential steps across your computer to achieve that goal.
Which means the real-world impact for working professionals is immense. We are talking about being able to feed a 5-minute video file directly into your laptop, and the AI can analyze the whole thing, the sight, the sound, the emotional context, at 1 frame per second, completely locally.
And here's the real kicker. Because it is running locally on your hardware, you aren't paying a $99 monthly cloud subscription. You don't even need an internet connection.
Which brings us to the final piece of the puzzle today. Because having an incredibly efficient local AI engine is great, but, a raw language model running in a terminal window isn't exactly user-friendly for someone who doesn't know how to code.
Right, it's pretty intimidating.
How do everyday people actually drive this thing?
Well, Google saw that exact bottleneck. So they have officially released macOS desktop applications specifically designed to bring Gemma 412b to life for the average computer user.
And there are 2 main apps we need to highlight here. The first is called AI Edge Gallery.
Right. AI Edge Gallery is essentially a local AI showcase app. It provides a beautiful user interface and runs entirely offline, natively on Apple Silicon GPUs.
Though we do have to mention the rather funny caveat from the App Insider breakdown. It works beautifully on all modern Apple laptops, with the notable exception of the MacBook Neo, which apparently is excluded from the fun for some mysterious hardware reasons.
Yeah, a bit of a stray casualty there for the Neo users. But for everyone else on a standard M-series Mac, this app is incredibly powerful. It gives you a highly secure, sandboxed environment to do local coding and heavy data analysis.
Nice.
The article gives a fantastic real-world example, actually. You could have 2 raw, messy text files full of baby names from 2024 and 2025. You just ask the AI in plain conversational English to compare them.
And because it supports those agentic workflows you mentioned earlier, the model dynamically generates a Python script, executes that script locally in the background, and instantly spits out a beautiful comparison chart.
Exactly.
All without your data ever pinging a server in California.
And the second app is perhaps even more relevant for the everyday professional. It's called AI Edge Eloquent. This is an AI-powered voice dictation and text editing app.
And again, 100% on device, right? No Wi-Fi needed at all.
Correct. What makes Eloquent game-changing is a feature called Voice Edit. You can literally highlight a paragraph of text in any application on your Mac, say, an email draft, a Word document, or some messy meeting notes.
Okay.
You hit a hotkey, and you just speak a command out loud. You say, restructure these notes into an executive summary, or translate this paragraph into Hindi.
And because it's powered by the raw logic engine of Gemma 412b, the instruction following and the quality of the output are vastly superior to those older, clunky on-device models we've had in the past.
Oh, totally. The ultimate benefit here for you cannot be overstated.
Yeah.
0 latency, 0 subscription fees, and total uncompromised data privacy.
Yes. The privacy is key.
Your unstructured thoughts, your messy first drafts, your proprietary business data, none of it is being harvested by corporate servers to train the next iteration of someone else's model.
I do have to point out the absolute irony here, though.
Oh, I know what you're going to say.
I mean, Google, which is arguably one of the largest data harvesting cloud companies on the entire planet, has built an incredibly capable private local assistant that shines the brightest on Apple hardware.
Yeah.
They've essentially handed Apple users the exact tool they need to protect themselves from the corporate omniscience we were just warning everyone about in the first segment.
It is a profound irony. But it also really proves the power of the open source community, forcing the hands of these tech giants. I mean, they have to release these localized private tools because the public demand for data sovereignty is growing way too loud to ignore.
It certainly makes you wonder how long before we all need to upgrade our laptops just to keep up with the memory requirements for these massive local models.
Oh, I think Apple and PC manufacturers are banking heavily on exactly that kind of hardware upgrade supercycle.
Well, before we wrap up and summarize where this all leaves us, a quick thanks to Old Glory, an iconic music and sports fan merch store, perfect for the techie in your life. Use promo code SNARFL for 15% off at oldglory.com.
So if we pull back and look at the whole picture today, we've traced a really fascinating arc.
We really have. We started by, cutting through the philosophical hype of cloud AI. We looked at how models like Claude are just mimicking consciousness by predicting text.
Right.
And how the hollow promise of AI productivity often masks a pretty grim economic reality where companies capture the profits while everyday workers just get squeezed tighter.
Then we explored the technical breakthrough, offering a way out of that corporate cloud trap.
Yeah.
Google's Gemma 412b. We saw how compressing the math and stripping away the old telephone game of encoders allows powerful multimodal reasoning to fit directly onto consumer hardware.
And finally, we looked at how apps like AI Edge Gallery and Eloquent are putting that raw, private power directly onto our Macs. It gives us high-level coding, agentic workflows, and seamless voice dictation without ever connecting to the internet.
It truly is a paradigm shift. We're moving away from AI as a rented, cloud-based service toward AI as a locally owned utility. It's like having a supercomputer right in your backpack.
Which leaves us with a pretty compelling question to chew on today. If open source, local AI running on our own laptops becomes so incredibly powerful that we no longer need the tech giants' expensive cloud subscriptions to be productive,
Will the multi-trillion-dollar AI corporate bubble burst?
exactly. Will it completely reshape who holds the wealth and power in the tech industry?
Because if the UN translator is suddenly out of a job because we all became natural-born polyglots overnight, the global market is going to have to adjust in ways we can barely predict.
We're here to help at Snarful, so reach out on our website if you have any more questions.
That's a wrap on today's top stories. Remember, tech doesn't have to be complicated, and we're here to help connect the dots. If you've got questions or want to learn more, visit us at snarful.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.